Hi everyone, it's Siobhan again. Welcome to day 5, where in addition to your wealth team that you should already be collecting, you should already be collecting contacts and have people on your radar. You should be speaking to people about good work that they've had carried out in their properties and getting sort of recommendations for good people that you could work with in your own investment property. What I want you to be very aware of as well is that you don't just want one person from each of those components that make up your wealth team. You want at least 3 people. You want choices for various different reasons. So I'll give you an example. So with build teams, for example, if you've just got one person that you rely on and you come across your investment property and they've just committed and started a project and then they can't get to yours for another few months, how does that impact on you? Well, you're gonna at least have to pay. If you've gone down the mortgage route, you're gonna still have to pay those mortgage repayments because you're not gonna have any tenants in there until after you refurb. You're gonna have to pay council tax. You're still gonna have to pay water, gas, electricity. You're still gonna have to all of these expenses for this property because you're not able to get anyone in. Whereas if you've got 2, 3 minimum or more people that you can call up and say, what's the situation? I need this property doing, and you've got more chance of getting someone in as soon as you complete for them to start doing the work. And obviously the sooner they do the work, the sooner you can start earning your income. In the previous video as well, I also briefly touched on solicitors being a component as well. Now you want at least 3 solicitors as well. As I explained, there's some lenders that will only deal with certain solicitors that are on their panel, and Kent Reliance are an example of that. So they have a panel of solicitors. If you go to their website, you can access all the solicitors that they want their lendees, they want us as buyers to deal with, that only want to deal with certain solicitors. So the last thing you want to do is engage or instruct a solicitor to work on your behalf, part with money, only to find that they can't do it. So you want a number of them on your side, and try to be aware of the parameters of the lenders so that you don't fall into that pitfall. The broker should be able to advise you on that as well. Some brokers actually recommend solicitors for you, but I personally have our go-to solicitors, some that I know, that they're going to move quickly. I know that they're going to point out any issues that I need to be aware of in the property. For example, there was a house that we were looking at up north, and we were buying it from a builder. He used to be a builder, but he retired, and he and a colleague of his had converted the loft, but they couldn't evidence to us that it was done within building regulations. It didn't require planning permission, but they couldn't advise that it was done within building regulations. They hadn't had that proof. I don't think they hadn't had it done, basically. Gave us some story, but ultimately they hadn't had it done. And because of that, our solicitor was like, well, we can't go ahead with the purchase. The lender won't lend anyway because they need to know that the house is sound before they agree to lend us the money. But if they can't even evidence that the work has been done up to a standard, then it's not a fair buy for us. So solicitors are, they're really important. If you can have several of those, well, they're mandatory anyway. But if you can have several of those in your toolbox, that will be so beneficial to you. And the same goes for mortgage brokers. All of these people have at least 3 of them in your toolbox, and don't expect to have them straight away. And you may come into contact with 3, or you may come into contact with 8, 9, 10, 11 of these sets of people until you find the right one that's for you. But the main thing is to make sure that you're building your team, you're building your wealth team, and you've got people that you can tap into, people that you can call to act quickly and grow your portfolio. So it's not so much of a challenge, it's more just to raise your awareness, because the previous challenge was to start bringing people together for yourself in terms of your team building, but just to be aware that you don't want to just rely on one person. One more thing that I want to add actually to that as well is, don't necessarily think that's because there's someone in your family who does accounting, for example, that's your go-to accountant, or somebody who has done some plumbing work, that's your go-to plumber. And the reason being is because for most of us, getting into a confrontation or a conflict or questioning work, what's the word I'm trying to look for, the quality of a job, it can be difficult when it comes to family and friends because of the relationship that you have. Whereas if it's a third party, it's probably easier to challenge somebody that you don't know, that you're not emotionally connected to, you're not necessarily going to see again. So just be mindful of that. I personally try not to mix business with pleasure. And if I've got some sort of attachment to you, or if you're a friend of a friend, I prefer not to do business just so that I don't have to deal with the breakdown if and when it comes to it. I just prefer it to be third party people. If we have a conflict of interest, or if we have a confrontation, can deal with it professionally and we can part as friends, and that's it. So that's it from me today. Bear that in mind when you're building your team, and I will be back tomorrow with another one. Take care, guys. Bye.